Hi, I'm Ted Pattison. Welcome to the Office Developer Screencast Virtual Tour. In this video tutorial, we're going to talk about using site columns in Windows SharePoint Services 3.0. Site columns are a great new innovation that allows you to define a field centrally and use it throughout a SharePoint site or a site collection. When you define a site column definition, you're able to specify aspects of a field, such as its name, its default value, validation constraints, and formatting, and then reuse that definition across multiple lists and document libraries. Okay, we're going to start this demo with a brand new site. Litware Server 1 Sites Dev Site is a site created with a blank site template. So really I'm starting from scratch. And what I want to do is move through some scenarios so I can show you how to start growing out content using the new site columns feature. Let's say that we want to create a few different lists. So I'll start by creating a new list. So I'm going to go to the Site Actions, get to the Create page, choose Custom List, and let's say that I want to create a new list to start tracking clients. So I go ahead and I choose Create, and under Settings I want to change a couple things about the columns that are inside here. I'll start by taking the one column they give me called Title, and I want to rename that to Client. Okay, now the second thing I'd like to do is I'd like to add some type of rating so that whenever I go ahead and add a new client, I could rate them as a good client or a bad client. So what I could do in V2 in the previous version of SharePoint was to say create column, and I could go ahead and I could create a ratings column and I could base that on a choice. But let's say that ratings was a column that I wanted in many different lists and many different document libraries. The problem with the approach I'm using right here is I've defined everything about this column inside the context of this one particular list. And then to get that across multiple lists, I'm going to have to duplicate the definition with respect to what are the choices, what are the formatting choices, what are the validation options. So the idea of a site collection that contains site columns is that you have a central place to define the fields that you're going to use across multiple sites. So I'm going to cancel out of this, and I'm just going to, at this time, simply leave my clients list with a single column client. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to create a reusable site column definition. So I'm going to go to the Site Actions menu, and I'm going to choose Site Settings. When I choose Site Settings, I'm going to go down to Galleries, and there is a Site Columns gallery. And when I get to the Site Columns gallery, you'll see there's a whole bunch of site columns that are defined by Microsoft out of the box. I'm going to choose Create, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to create my site column. It's going to be called Ratings, or Rating. I'm going to make it a choice column. Now, when you create a new site column, it's a good housekeeping procedure to put it in its own custom group. Because I work for the Litware Corporation, I'm going to go ahead and make that Litware as a new group. Do we want to require information? And so in this case, I want to, every time this column is used in a list or document library, I want to force the user to make a choice. And at first, we'll have good, and we'll have bad. And what is going to be the default? We'll make good the default. How do I want this to show up to the user? Do I want it to show up with radio buttons, checkboxes? Do I want to allow fill-in? So those are all characteristics that I want to define once and be able to use across multiple lists. So we'll go ahead and choose OK. So at this point, I should be able to scroll down to the very bottom here and see that, yes, indeed, the Litware group has been created, and inside there we just created a single site column named Rating. Now we're able to go back to any of the lists inside this site. So I'll go back to Clients, and inside of Clients, I'm going to go to List Settings. Once I drop down here, now instead of just adding a column, I'm going to say add from existing site columns. So I can go ahead and I could create this site column, and I can go down and look at all the different site columns in the custom litware group. I'll go ahead and add ratings. I'll go ahead and choose OK. And now let's look at the experience of the user. The user comes to this particular clients list and chooses new. And so they go ahead and they add in one of their new clients, Contoso in this case right here, and they drop that down and they see that they have the choice of both good and bad. Now, imagine that I've taken this site column and I've used it across 10 different lists and document libraries. One of the obvious benefits of site columns is when I'm maintaining something inside the definition that might change, like the set of lists, or for other site columns it might be formatting or the default value or validation constraints. Instead of having to go back to individual lists, I can change it in a single place by going back to Site Settings, going back to the Site Columns gallery. I can now go down to the very bottom here. I can find that particular site column definition. I'm going to open it up, and let's say that we need a new type of rating. So we're going to go ahead and say bad's not good enough for some of our clients. We need downright awful. So we'll go ahead and add that new entry inside here. Now, before I go ahead and click OK, I want you to notice down here that at the bottom of the page that allows you to update a site column is a radio button saying, do you want to update any of the lists and document libraries that have already used this site column? So typically we want to leave it with the default answer of yes. That's what we're going to do in this case. I'm going to click OK, and any list and document library that's using the site column definition is going to get the update. But with the architecture Microsoft designed, they have the site column definition, and then they also cache the definition in every list and document library that uses this. And the reason for this is that you have the option, as you update a site column, to only make it apply to lists and document libraries that you create in the future that you add this site column to. And you can basically leave all the other ones alone that already have the site column definition. It's your choice. In this case, we're going to go ahead and choose OK. And now, as I come back here, once again, let's go back and let's go to our client list. And let's go ahead and add in a new client. And we should see that now we have that choice. So if I come through here and we have this client Adventure Works, we'll go ahead and add in that client and add in the particular rating. Okay, now let's go and extend the demo by creating a second site column. And this time what we're going to do is we're going to create a site column that's going to perform a lookup. So let's go to Site Columns by going to their gallery. Just like we did before, we're going to create a new site column, and this one is going to be called Client. And when I create this site column, what I'd like to do is I'd like to do a lookup. I'd like to do a lookup, and once again, we'll stick this in our custom group, Litware. So as I go down and create the definition for the site column, I can also specify, is this going to be required data? Let's go ahead and make it required data. And when someone needs to fill in information for this particular site column in a list or document library, we want to draw the information from the clients list we just created in that one particular client column. We'll go ahead and choose OK. Okay, now that we've done that, let's go ahead and put it to use. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up here and we're going to go ahead and we're going to create a new document library. So we're going to create a document library. And I'm going to call this Client Documents. And once we create this document library, just like any other document library, I can go ahead and add extra metadata columns. So let's go ahead and add a new metadata column. And but this time, instead of picking a column that's defined inside the context of the document library, I'm going to leverage one of these common definitions from the site columns gallery, in particular the one I just created. So let's go ahead and add from existing site columns. Let's come up here, look at the Litware site columns, and I'll go ahead and pick client. Now that we've done that, what we're able to do is let's go ahead and upload a document. So I'll come back and we'll say upload. Once I say upload, I should be able to find a particular place. There's the AdventureWorks sales presentation that we did the other day. So as I upload that into this document library, you're going to be able to see that I have this drop-down list that's being fed from another list inside the same site. Okay, now the last thing that I want to demonstrate about site columns is that they work across sites. So while the site columns that I defined, once again, let's go back to the site settings page. Let's go back to site columns, and you can see that within this site, I've created these two different site columns, client and rating. Yet, even though they're really scoped at the site level, they're available in all the sites down below. So if you ever create a site column in a top-level site, it is then usable in any of the child sites throughout the site collection. So even though it's scoped to the site, you can really think of them as being scoped to the site collection when you create them in the top-level site. So to finish out this demo, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here and we're going to go ahead and say create, and let's create a child site. So on the create page, I'm going to choose create sites and workspaces. And I'm not going to be very creative with my name. I'm just going to call this child site child 1, just to demonstrate being able to do these site columns and use them across sites. And as I've done this, I have this new child site down here. This is based on a team site. And let's say that I want to go ahead and add a new document library down here. And so let's go ahead and add a new document library, and this one is going to be called Client Documents as well. When I create the client documents, I'm going to go to Settings, and remember that I'm at a child site. Yet, when I go down to Columns and say Add from Existing Site Columns, I can come down here, pick Litware, pick that client column right here, and choose OK. So now when I'm at the child site, and we'll go ahead and we'll upload a document. We'll upload this Contoso sales presentation. We'll go ahead and choose OK. And now notice that something that wasn't possible with the last version, you can do lookups across site boundaries. And so just to kind of prove that this is working, notice that right now in the child site, this lookup field is giving me AdventureWorks and Contoso. So let's go ahead and check this document in. Yet I'm going to move back up to the top level site, and I'm going to go back to my clients list, and I'm going to add in another client, Wingtip Toys. And now that I've added that in, let's go back to the child site. Let's go back to the child site. Let's go back to the document library that we've just created, and let's go ahead and upload a new document. We'll upload from the Wingtip sales presentation. Now that we've uploaded that, notice that my new entry is added right here. So one of the neat things about site columns is that you can create them up at the top level site and then use them throughout a document library. And it gives you this neat capability when you have a list in a top level site. You create a site column in the top level site, and then you use that site column in lists and document libraries throughout the site collection, and you can maintain a set of lookup values a single time in a top level site and use it across an entire site collection. So that's a pretty neat new enhancement as we move from V2 to V3.